The lands beyond the wall are unified, the wall is breached, and the seven kingdoms are shattered. Greenseer Stir, Magnar of Then, the living legend and king beyond the wall, starts the reconquest of Westeros. The first target is the Kingdom of the North, ruled by King Eddard Stark of Winterfell. There are many similarities between us. We are both named for our grandfathers. We are both merciless rulers willing to do anything to achieve our goals. And we both worship the old gods. However, for every similarity there is a crucial difference. Our grandfather expanded his kingdom to a size many times larger, while his led a failed rebellion against the Dragon Kings of the Iron Throne. While we surround ourselves with trusted friends and companions, he isolates himself from everyone. And worst of all, their interpretation of the old gods' teachings has been twisted and mangled to conform to the wayward sensibilities of the invaders from the east. It is for this reason that there can be no peaceful alliance between our kingdoms, only conquest of one by the other. The peoples of the Seven Kingdoms have long ago mastered the art of steelsmithing, allowing them to equip their soldiers with great quality weapons and armor, making them more effective against our bronze warriors. But the strength of an army does not solely lie in its equipment, but in its spirit and experience. Their soldiers have been left to rust over the decades of relative peace, while our army has retained its edge and been tempered with fire and blood. Stir declares an invasion of the north, which is to the south, and raises his hosts. We spill across the border into the lands held by the Embers. They could do naught but hold out and wait for help from their liege. That help did arrive in the form of a host over 20,000 men strong. What ensued was a series of skirmishes and battles, which both sides won and lost. Stir lost many friends and even a son. The stress of this caused him to pick up drinking, but nevertheless he kept fighting. During a battle, Lady Mormont of Bear Island was captured, and with her the Valyrian steel sword Longclaw. It is a fine weapon and would serve our family well from now on. His hosts were too large for Stir to lead all by himself, so command was split between him and his trusted lieutenants. One of these men was Baron Wolf, who won a battle against Stark himself. What was surprising about this man was that he was a former brother of the Night's Watch, yet he fought against the Northerners as fiercely as any wildling. Perhaps he remembers that when the wall fell, the Starks did not come to their aid, and still holds a grudge. Eventually, King Eddard was forced to admit defeat. For a second time in history, the Starks lost their kingship. Except last time, they remained as lords of the north. Now they were reduced to exiled nobility, with no land to call home. With such a vast land coming under the rulership of the Magnar, some reorganization was in order. First of all, lords captured during the war were magnanimously released by their king, under the condition that they embraced the Magnaric way of worshipping the gods. This included powerful families such as the Mormonts, Hornwoods, Umbers, and Fells of White Harbor. Next, all lords that have not yet come of age were given tutors to educate them in Magnaric practices. And finally, in order to better control his newest conquest, Stir moved the realm capital to the formidable castle of Winterfell. Additionally, Winterfell was surrounded by rich, densely populated land, at least richer and more people than anything north of the wall, including the Then Valley. This would massively increase the personal power of the Magnar, as well as that of the Then Kingdom. He immediately sent his counselors to convert the local people to the Magnaric faith and settle new families of Then culture in these lands. The following years were spent consolidating his power over the north and ingratiating himself to his new subjects. We fought a few small wars against our new neighbors, more to test them than to actually conquer land. Their warriors were tough, but what proved even tougher were their castles. With overwhelming numbers, we were able to defeat them on the open battlefield. But we were unable to take the stronghold called the Twins, held by the Freys. The Twins were actually two castles on either side of a great river connected by a bridge, a truly formidable stronghold. Luckily, by taking the surrounding weaker castles, we were able to make them surrender, but we have learned a valuable lesson. Never again will we heedlessly charge the southern walls, as we lost 30,000 men just in an attempt to take one castle. Stur is now at the age that his grandfather was when he passed. His body is weakening and he knows that his days of warring are over. But he does not grieve, as he knows that just as he continued from where his predecessors left off, so will his descendants continue where he left off. He died in a happy drunken stupor and was succeeded by his son Anand. Anand inherited the crown at the age of 47. He was already a middle-aged man and ready to take the reins of power, though he knew he had some quite big shoes to fill. Thanks to his father, the Then dynasty now ruled the lands from the neck up to the heart of winter itself. He and every Then Magnar after him would continue the conquest. After winning the hearts and minds of his vassals, Anand continued the conquest by invading the Vale. The Whalemen showed themselves to be stubborn fighters, throwing themselves at us again and again, then retreating behind their mountains and castles to recuperate, then attacking again. But we are stubborn fighters too, and after years of bloody war, the Vale was ours. However, unlike in the north, the Vale lords only begrudgingly accepted us as their king. The Vale is, after all, the landing point of the Faith of the Seven on this continent, and one of its greatest strongholds. Incorporating these lands into the Magnaric Kingdom may not be possible. Nevertheless, Anand will try his best. As he is already almost 60 years old, he will dedicate the rest of his life to pacifying his kingdom. Whether he did it well enough is for the next generation to decide. The kingdom of the Then was inherited by Len, son of Boromir, Anand's grandson, and the kingdom of the Mountain and Vale was passed to Oria, his eldest daughter. Oria was left in an unenviable position of ruling over a kingdom of discontented foreigners who follow a religion which is hostile to her. And Greenseer Len was little better off. If the Magnaric faith and Then culture were to entrench themselves in the south, Greenseer Len and High Queen Oria had to support each other. To that end, they formed an alliance in case of revolt or outside attack and sent to entrenching their power in their respective kingdoms. Len used the crown's considerable wealth to bribe his vassals. Over the years, the Then dynasty has accrued many valuable artifacts, which he gave away freely in hopes of buying the loyalty of his most powerful subjects. He gave them high positions at court and even lessened the crown's grip on the nobility, in hopes of placating them. He was no pushover, however. When a vassal crossed him, he leveraged his influence to either imprison them or just take their lands. Those he imprisoned would be released in exchange for converting to Magnaric, and the lands he took would be given to new nobility of Then culture. Through these efforts and making sure to connect with his vassals by throwing feasts and hunts, the Magnar secured his throne. He was young and a powerful king. The world lay at his fingertips, but what could he do to carve his name across history? How could he outshine his predecessors? Unlike the old kings, he was not a warrior. He had to admit to himself he was even a little craven. He was not about to embark on a campaign of conquest which would probably just get him killed. Then he sighed. The Then people are the rightful rulers of this land, yes, but over the ages we have fallen behind the other peoples in strength, but more importantly in knowledge. The old Then kings knew that if we are to regain mastery over Westeros, we must become stronger. But Len knew we must become wiser as well. And we will do that by learning from the Southerners. By taking a look at the lands we have already retaken, we can start to adopt their ways of doing things. We paid an exorbitant price to steep ourselves in Northman culture. Lady Bolton of the Dreadfort sold us some of her illustrious regalia to help in our cultural enrichment. Some used this opportunity to challenge us, but in the end, we managed to lead our people into the future. Now it is time to make our ancestors proud, to prove we are worthy of the name Then. We will continue the conquest. It appears that the Kingdom of Blackwater Bay consider itself the true successor of the Iron Throne. They have taken advantage of our border conflict with the Kingdom of the Trident to vassalize them in exchange for their protection. They are formidable, but with our aunt and the Kingdoms of the Mountain and Vale, we can win. Before we declare an invasion, we will test them by claiming some more border territories. We gathered a host at the Twins and waited for them to appear. They were wise enough not to attack us directly, but to besiege the peripheral castles as we did a generation before. We set out to meet them, and by using the smaller holdfasts to our advantage, we won a major battle. Now it was time to go on the offensive. We besieged the castles on the border, but we have not yet learned how to use proper siege weapons, so it was extremely difficult. Just then, the Queen of the Iron Throne, Alora Thar, died in battle. She was succeeded by her son Amory, who immediately offered a white peace. The war was grueling, and victory was not certain. Our aunt was in poor health, and when she died, we would lose the alliance with the Mountain and Way, and the new king of the Iron Throne was not as strong as the old queen. So in the long run, we are confident that he would only weaken his kingdom. It is for this reason that we accepted his offer of peace. This peace was only temporary, of course. We achieved what we set out to do. We tested them and measured their strength. We would return, and the Trident will be ours. In the meantime, we set our sights across the sea to the Iron Islands. They are a weak kingdom, capable of raising a relatively small host, and they are known throughout the Seven Kingdoms as a cowardly people who flee on their longships rather than face their enemy in battle. So, after making sure that they were isolated and without allies, we sailed our host to Harla, their most populated island. We had serious trouble taking their hilly fortresses without siege equipment. It took years to starve out just a single fortress, and the Ironmen were true to their reputation, setting sail on their boats and striking where we were weakest. But by patiently taking their provinces one by one and taking care to have a reserve army to fight them off whenever they should land, the war was eventually won. It has now been many years since the last war with the Iron Throne. Just as we thought, they were much weaker than before. And Len, wishing to live up to the name Then, had become a warrior and commander through sheer effort. We invaded the Riverlands and, after winning a battle in which 15,000 of their men perished, our victory was assured. The followers of the Old Gods now control all of our holy sites, including the holiest of all, the Isle of Faces. Our people now rule the lands from the farthest north to the waters of the Trident. We have fought the invaders and won again and again. No one can say that the First Men have not redeemed themselves from the millennia of humiliation at the hands of the Andals. What lies ahead for this continent, only the gods know. My name is Michael, and this is the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you've made it this far, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribed or pressed the like button. With a channel as small as mine, literally every press of the like button, every comment, every subscription matters a lot, and it matters a lot to me to see the numbers go up. Anyway, that's the end of this series. The next series will be about the Iron Islands, and despite what I said in the comments on the last video, I'm going to take my time with it. If it takes me a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to make the first video, then that's how long it's going to take. Sorry about that, but yeah. Whenever it does come out, I hope to see you there, and goodbye.